We'll get started with the prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripatamaham Vande Shri Gurum Deenatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Krishna Chaitanyamishwaram Namo Vishnupadaya Krishnapreshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Pasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam. We are in chapter 15 and of the first canto, and today we have to continue from verse number 10 if I'm not wrong. नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयं मुदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवत्युत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः. This is chapter 15. The Pandavas retire timely. So the context to this particular chapter is that Arjuna had gone to Dwaraka and he didn't return for almost 7 months. Meanwhile, in the palace, we see that Gandhari, Dhritarashtra, and Vidura retired to the forest. And Yudhishthir Maharaj was feeling very bad. He called Sanjaya and he asked Sanjaya about where his uncle had gone. But they could understand from Narada Muni later that Yudhishthir Maharaj's uncle and aunt had gone to retire in the forest. And after they got a good counsel from Narada Muni, they had a hint that very soon the Lord's pastimes would also be withdrawn and they also have to retire. This was the instruction given. Then later, what happened? Then later, of course, they also got a hint from Vidura saying that the Lord has completed his pastimes, because when Yudhishthir Maharaj kept asking Vidura about how the relatives in Dwaraka were doing, Vidura didn't speak about that, but he spoke about everything else. So there also Yudhishthir Maharaj sort of got a hint. Then Yudhishthir Maharaj started feeling all sorts of bad omens, and we discussed these bad omens in great detail. And because of these bad omens, he could understand something was wrong. So when he was talking to Bhima about what he was feeling at that time, after 7 months, finally, Arjun comes. So when Arjun comes, Yudhishthir Maharaj begins questioning Arjun in various ways. We saw in one of our previous classes how Yudhishthir Maharaj had so many questions for Arjun. But for all these questions, there was no answer from Arjun, because obviously none of these are the reason why Arjun was lamenting so much and why he was choked up. And finally, though he didn't want to ask the question, he ended up asking the question: "Did are you separated from your dear friend Krishna?" Finally, he asks this question. So that ends chapter 14, and in chapter 15, we see how this Arjun, who's the most celebrated friend of Krishna, was extremely grief stricken And he was actually very disturbed by all these different speculative enquiries by Yudhishthir Maharaj. He was like, okay, stop, okay, enough, don't ask me all these questions. And finally, his mouth dried up and he could not speak anything because he was thinking of his dear friend Krishna. So, with great difficulty, he checks his tears that were completely drenching his eyes, and he began to remembering Lord Krishna. He began to speak that our dear Krishna, who is my intimate friend, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Hari, has decided to leave me alone, and he has left us. He is no longer with us. And he laments and he tells how he has lost Krishna, and the whole world seems void without the presence of Krishna. And he begins to recount how Krishna was with him in every single circumstance. He says, it was only by Krishna's merciful strength that I was able to vanquish all the princes who had assembled to win the hand of Draupadi. And it was only by Krishna's mercy that I could pierce the eye of the fish target that was kept in Draupadi's Swayamvar. And he tells how even the Kandava Dahana, the Kandava forest, was burned down by the mercy of Krishna. And Maya, who was a demon, he was saved from the blazing of the Kandava forest again by the mercy of Krishna. And Mayadanava built a very, very beautiful palace for Yudhishthir Maharaj. Then he tells about how, by Krishna's mercy, he was able to, Bhima was actually able to kill Jarasandha. You all know the story of how Jarasandha was almost invincible. He could be killed only by one method, and that is tearing his body into half. And that was actually shown to Bhima by Sri Krishna. So it was only by Krishna's mercy that Jarasandha was actually killed. And this Jarasandha was very notorious. We see how he had brought so many kings for the Mahabhairava Yajna, and only by Krishna's mercy, all of them were released eventually. And he, like that, he goes on to explain how Krishna's mercy made them successful in different endeavors. So that is the theme of all these different verses, and we'll continue from text 10. And all these verses, they have so many stories in them because it's full of stories. You all know the stories of the Mahabharata. So we'll mostly just focus on the contents in the purport, and we'll see how Arjuna is actually remembering each of these situations, and he's able to relate them to remembering Krishna. Yeah, so Adamni Mataji says it is from verse number 10. Thank you, Mataji. So we'll start with the 10th verse. Just give me 1 second. This is Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 15, verse number 10. पत्न्यास्तवादिमकक्लृप्तमहाभिषेक श्लाघितचारुकबरं कितवै सभायां स्पृष्टं विकीर्य पदयो पतिताश्रुमुख्या यस्तत्स्त्रियो अकृत हतेश विमुक्तकेश. Anyone wants to read translation, please?
I can do Mataji.
Yes.
By Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. It was he only who loosened the hair of all the wives of the miscreant who dared open the cluster of your queen's hair, which had been nicely dressed and sanctified for the great Rajasurya sacrificial ceremony. At, th- at that time, she fell down at the feet of Lord Krishna with tears in her eyes. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Bol. It's a very poetic verse. Thank you, Mataji. In this verse, Arjuna is thinking how only because of Sri Krishna's mercy, Draupadi was actually her honor was saved, or rather preserved by Sri Krishna in the Kuru assembly. This horrible Kitavai Sabhayam. Kitavai means miscreants. So the Sabha of the miscreants. In the Sabha of the miscreants, um, Draupadi was terribly dishonored, and Sri Krishna, you all know how he actually sent unlimited sari and protect her. It is interesting how in this verse it is mentioned that Krishna only loosened the hair of the wives of the miscreants who dared open the cluster of Draupadi's hair. So Draupadi's hair here is mentioned that it was beautiful. It was sanctified for the sake of the Rajasuya Yajna, and it was tied up very nicely. It was dressed and tied together very nicely. But then when she was in a basically when she was in her private quarters, we know how Dushasan pulls a lady by her hair and brings her to the Sabha when she was in Ekavastra. She was off the altar technically or at that time, and she was in her private quarters, and she was not to be touched at that time. But Dushasan, he pulls her by the hair. To pull a woman by the hair is considered very, very demoniac. One should not touch a woman's hair and pull her by the hair. It's considered the worst offense, one of the worst, not the worst, but one of the worst offenses you can do to a woman. It is very disrespectful to pull a woman by her hair. And she was pulled by her hair, and then she takes a vow that she will not tie up her hair till all the Kauravas are killed. Now, poetically, here it is mentioned, it is he only who loosened the hair of all the wives. Why so? Loosened the hair of all the wives of the miscreants. Loosening the hair means generally only when a person's husband is dead, they keep the hair open, loose. Okay. Otherwise, a woman should tie her hair. That is tradition. So, indirectly, it is telling that Krishna was responsible for killing all the Kauravas. Of course, it was Bhima who killed all the Kauravas, but Krishna was indirectly responsible because obviously, without Krishna's mercy, nothing can happen. Nothing can happen even to anybody, right? So, even for Bhima to kill all the Kauravas, it was possible only because of the strength given by Sri Krishna, which means the wives of the Kauravas' hairs were loosened. That is what it means. And then we all know later how after she says that unless there's a vow again made by Bhimsen saying that he will wash her hair with the blood of the Kauravas, specifically Dushasan, and then she can take her bath and then tie up her hair. So this was a vow that was made by Draupadi, and that is mentioned here. So he says, it was he only, Krishna only, who loosened the hair of all the wives of the miscreants, who dared open the cluster of your queen's hair, which had been very nicely dressed and sanctified for the great Rajasuya sacrificial ceremony. At that time, she fell down at Lord Sri Krishna with tears in her eyes, because in the Kuru Sabha she surrendered unto Krishna, and it was only Krishna who actually saved her honor, right? So Arjun is remembering this particular episode. And here in the purport, we see how Prabhupada mentions that Queen Draupadi had beautiful hair, and it was nicely sanctified during the ceremonial function of the Rajasuya Yajna. And when the gambling match had happened, at that time, Dushasan touched her glorified hair and insulted her. Like I mentioned earlier, to pull a woman by her hair is considered, actually, it's equivalent to that. They say in scripture that a person who touches a woman's hair without, disrespectfully, it's equivalent to that person's death. So he is inviting his own death. When you pull a woman by her hair disrespectfully, you're inviting your own death. So Dushasan dared to touch her glorified hair and insult her. And Draupadi, then at that time, she surrendered unto the Lord. And that is when Lord Krishna decided that all the wives of Dushasan and company should have their hair loosened as a result of the battle of Kurukshetra. Hair loosened means their husband would all be dead. That is what it means. So after the battle of Kurukshetra, after all the sons and grandsons of Dhritarashtra, they died in the battle, all the wives of the family were obliged to loosen their hairs because their husband died. So in other words, the wives of the Kuru family, they became widows because of Dushasan's insulting a great devotee of the Lord. This is what happens when we insult a woman, specifically when she is a great devotee of the Lord. So this is Maha Aparadha that was done. And Dushasan had to pay for it. And because of this, the entire Kuru Vamsha, that entire dynasty, the Kauravas, they all had to pay for it, the Kauravas side. So Krishna is very, very protective of his devotees. He can tolerate insults upon himself, but when his devotee is insulted, he will not keep quiet. Just like a loving father. A loving father can tolerate any sort of insults on himself, but when his son is not treated properly, he's not going to feel happy. He's going to be very upset. So, similarly, is the Lord. He cannot tolerate insults upon his devotees. So, by insulting a great soul like Draupadi, who was a wonderful devotee, all these people had to suffer. They all had to suffer a great deal, and the entire dynasty was cursed because of the Shasan's touching, pulling the hair of Draupadi. Here, Prabhupada says, by insulting a great soul, one has to forego all the results of pious acts and benedictions also. You might have accrued a lot of pious credits. You might have been a great punyavan. You could have gotten so many benedictions. You think you're very powerful, but the minute you offend Mahabhagavat, everything is gone. Everything. Everything is gone. Just like how we see the story of Durvasa and Ambarish Maharaj. The minute Durvasa behaved very badly with Ambarish Maharaj, though he was a great mystic, though he was able to do anything he liked, he was able to travel through various planetary systems. But did he escape? No, he was not able to escape. So Darshan did not leave him, right? So, like that, you think you have achieved it all, you have all the credits, you have all the piety, but in 1 second, everything is in oblivion, everything is gone if you offend a Mahabhagavata. So this is what happened in the case of all the Kauravas. Next, verse number 11. Yes, somebody, Purna Prakash Prabhu. Please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Pranam. Mataji, yeah, here when Dushasana was pulling her hair and then so whatever he is doing, disrobing her, is a great offense, and which is Mahaparad. But when we think about outwardly, even Yudhishthira, who is the king of Dharma, how come he put his wife for in the game of dice? So is that, I mean, outwardly it looks like it's really great. I don't know what to say, but inner meaning maybe it will be different. Kind of Krishna and wanted to show that. So they have taken everything, his kingdom, everything, but for all Pandavas, kingdom and wealth and all is not necessary actually for them. So own lovable wife, which is more precious for anything, that also taken away. That he wanted to show that. I don't know what to understand here. Yeah.
Question Draupadi asks, did he first bet himself and then bet me? Or did he first bet me and then bet himself? She asks this question, logical question. She asks this question and everybody is dumbfounded. She asks this question to whom? To Bhishma. And then Bhishma comes up and says, who's great Dharmavan, who knows everything. In fact, we saw in the 8th chapter Bhishma Stuti, Krishna sends Arjun to go and ask all his doubts cleared from Bhishma Dev. So Bhishma was a great proponent of dharma, and Bhishma's answer is the ways of dharma is very intricate. I'm not able to answer you properly. The indirect question is the wife really the property of the husband, where the property can be put on bet? Or is the wife an individual personality who has to live with the husband and cannot be called the husband's property? Now, this is a very tricky question to ask. And also in the case of Yudhishthir Maharaj actually bet himself, then he put his wife, I think. I don't know. Some ordering was not correct in the, because he himself became a dasa. Then how can a servant say that he has something else belonging to him and then put his wife? So this was the question that actually Draupadi asks, and Bhishma answers like this. He says, I can't give you an answer because the Dharma Shastras are so intricate. I don't even have a clear answer for you. And that's why he shuts his mouth and he's not able to say anything. But again, yeah, is the wife really the property of the husband, where she can be considered a commodity, right? That is the question that is being asked.
So yeah,
Yeah.
Mataji. He didn't bet for all brothers, right, Mataji? Only
He
wife.
did.
He has
No,
only
he did
rights.
for all the
To
brothers.
all,
He put
all.
all his brothers, yeah. His brothers are considered his subservient, okay? But what about the wife? That was the $1,000,000 question.
Yeah. Yeah, just casual questions,
Yeah,
Mataji.
yeah, of course,
Yeah,
yes,
it's very
sir.
difficult to understand its inner meanings. It's a lot of things.
Yeah, it's very difficult to
Yeah.
understand why he that too the law the Amsha of Dharmaraj himself did that. Yudhishthir Maharaj himself did that. But Draupadi was a very, very, strong woman. She had the clarity of thought and whatever, even in that distress situation, to question and protect her. I mean, the best thing she did was, of course, she surrendered to Krishna because she knows none of these fellows are even going to help her out. They might be the strongest people on earth, but who's really my protector? That clarity she had, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct. Yes, Mataji. Thanks,
You
Mataji.
see, these women in Shastras, they're all great. Like, look at Sita Devi. Sometimes we cut a very sorry figure for her. Mhm. We think she's a very weakling. She doesn't know how to protect herself. But no, she was very, very shrewd in how she behaved. I mean, in the positive connotation. And she questions Ram in various ways. At various points in time, she asks some very valid questions that even today's so-called feminists won't ask. Yeah. Yeah, they were very great women, actually.
Yeah, she was very strong as like men. That's what as I read in part one of the Prabhupada. She is very strong. Yeah.
Thank you,
Yes,
Prabhu.
Mataji. Yeah, correct.
Thanks
Thank you.
for sparking the conversation. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
यो नो जुगोपवनयेत्य दुरन्तकृच्छरात् दुर्वाससो अरिरचिताद् अयुताग्रभुक्त्यः शाकन्न शिष्टम् उपयुज्य यतस्त्रिलोकं तृप्तम् अमंस्त शलिले विनिमग्नसङ्घः. Okay, so this is famous story everyone knows. Anyone wants to read translation? Very sweet story.
Hare Krishna Mataji and Pranam Jai Srila Prabhupada. During our exile, Durvasa Muni, who eats with his 10,000 disciples, intrigued with our enemies to put us in dangerous trouble. At that time, he, Lord Krishna, simply by accepting the remnants of food, saved us. By his accepting food, thus the assembly of Munis, while bathing in the river, felt sumptuously fed, and all the three worlds were also satisfied. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.
If it's not satisfied, the whole world is satisfied. When I was a child, I would go and pray to Krishna. This is just sharing. And when I read this Prabhupada's purport, it was like a spark in my like a bulb light that uh, flickered in my mind. When I was a kid, in India, there are people you see who are beggars, right? Mm. And they come and they ask for food, and you feel so bad. You feel so bad. And especially when we are in an impressionable age, when we are young, we don't understand why there should be poverty or why people should suffer like this. And then we think that this world is so weird. And then we go and pray to God and we say, God, why is all this like this? So I used to pray, oh, let the poverty end in the world. That would be my big prayer. But then when I read Prabhupada's book, Prabhupada says this last sentence. I really like what Prabhupada said. He says, um, yeah, see, he says, another instruction is that every householder must offer food to the Lord, and the result will be that everyone, even a company of guests numbering 10,000, will be satisfied because of the Lord's being satisfied. That is the way of devotional service, he says. Actually, I never understood how, when Prabhupada used to say, you offer food to Krishna, everything is taken care of, everybody will be satisfied. We've heard this many times, right? So many people, they do the Panchasunu Yajna, which means the householder has to do 5 different kinds of sacrifices. Every day, every single day, they have to do the Pancha Agni. They have to be 5 Agnis in one householder's life, and he has to keep doing those Pancha Agni sacrifice, and he has to take care of all living entities. He has to take care of demigods. He has to take care of rishis. He has to take care of ancestors. Every day they have to do. Okay, it's not that okay during the Shraddha Tithi I'll take care of ancestor. No, every day. Okay. Like that, there are 5 kinds of debts every householder has to take care of. And this Agni should be continuously burning. Even one day it should not go off in a householder's life. And the same Agni later, it's lit at the time of marriage. And the same Agni is later used to burn our body. Okay, this is the tradition. Now so there are these sacrifices that is going on, and Prabhupada in many places he says, don't worry, all these sacrifices are taken care of when you offer food to Krishna and when you honor that food, because when Krishna is satisfied, the whole world is satisfied. And he goes on giving the analogy of feeding the stomach and watering the root of the tree. These 2 analogies you will always see when Prabhupada speaks. Somehow I thought, really, 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 how come? How come? So if Krishna is satisfied, the whole world will be satisfied. And sometimes he even gives the analogy of the elephant. He says, what is this poverty that everyone is talking about? Prabhupada condemns that. He says, actually, there's no question of poverty. He says that unnecessarily people are hoarding food and they are not dispensing it appropriately, and that is the reason for irregularities. And he says Krishna is maintaining everybody. Even the elephants also, it requires so many tons of food, but the elephant is maintained by Krishna. So Krishna knows how to maintain everybody. Every single living entity is maintained by Krishna. You don't have to worry. You don't have to think that you are the maintainer of anybody, right? We saw that same verses even in the case of Yudhishthir Maharaj. Yudhishthir Maharaj was lamenting, oh, what will my uncles and my aunt do? They were so happy here. Now who will maintain them? And then Narad Muni scolds him. He tells him, do you think you're maintaining them? Krishna is maintaining them. And then he tells one living entity is the food of another living entity, and there is a chain, and that way everybody is maintained by the Supreme Lord. He gives that knowledge, right? So when I actually, the equation didn't match properly for me. I always had this thought in my mind, is it really that when Krishna is satisfied, everybody is satisfied? And Krishna is taking care of every living entity. But this particular story, you read Prabhupada's books and then you read this particular story of how when Krishna was satisfied, all the sages were satisfied, right? Somehow I could make a connection in my life and I felt satisfied that I found the answer, and it convinced me only after I could put these words of Srila Prabhupada and this particular verse or this particular story where when Krishna just took one shakanam. See, many people, they debate, is it a piece of grain, is it rice, or was it shark that was sticking to the pot? of Draupadi. That pot was given by Surya Dev, right? That Akshaya Patram. In that, many people keep asking, is it a grain or is it a shark, or what do you call a shark? Is it like spinach, piece of greens that was sticking? But both Mahabharat and Srimad Bhagavatam, they specifically say Shaka Annam. That means uh, rice mixed with spinach. Okay, so Shakannam, it is rice mixed with spinach. That was sticking. That was sticking. And then when Krishna ate that one grain, the whole world was satisfied. Even those hundreds and thousands of, he has some 10,000 or 100,000 followers, right? All of their stomach was satisfied. So if Krishna decides that I want to satisfy this hunger of someone, it will all be taken care of. All that we have to do is whatever is in our hands, we just offer it to Krishna and pray. That's all, and Krishna takes care. Somehow I came one full circle and I found satisfaction through the story and different purports of Srila Prabhupada. So I wanted to bring that out, that every story that is mentioned, whatever Krishna does, he's teaching so many, he's giving us so many insights and that how he's maintaining this world and how he's complete in whatever he's doing. We may not see Krishna's plan right away, but Krishna has put in a perfect world, actually perfect world, in the sense that he's taking care of everything. He's complete. The world that he has created is complete, and everything is complete in itself, like Om Purnamada Purnamidam, we say, right? So under Krishna's supervision, actually there is a complete system that is functioning. And yeah, so that's what the Bhagavatam is teaching us through various stories. Meanwhile, somebody raised hand. I just got drifted. I wanted to share. So somebody raised hand. Anyone wants to say something?
Hare Krishna Mataji. So when you were telling that different purports of Srila Prabhupada, where Srila Prabhupada is saying that Krishna is maintaining from an ant and elephant, like I was remembering mantra one of Ishopanishad,
Ishavasvedam
Idam
Sarvam.
sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagatina taktina punjita magradha kasasita. Hare Krishna.
Beautiful, yeah. I just said the invocation and you gave the exact relevant verse, verse number 1, which is Ishavasyanidam Sarvam. Thank you, Mataji.
Great agreement. Hare Krishna.
Very good. Yeah, so Durvasa Muni, let's see how Prabhupada takes this purport. First, he gives us an introduction of who Durvasa Muni is. Of course, Durvasa was a great mystic Brahmin, a great sage, and he performed very strict austerities. And we see that his name keeps repeating in history. And he has a character where he's not easily satisfied and he's easily annoyed. Actually, Durvasa has two meanings. Some people, for fun, they say. Durvasa, you all know, he's just surviving on Durva grass. That is one meaning. The other meaning is also Durvasa. You can't live with him. Very difficult to live with because he gets easily annoyed. And at the same time, he's also easily satisfied, like Ashutosh, who's Lord Shiva. Whenever he is satisfied, he can bless you very nicely. And whenever he gets dissatisfied, he can bring about the greatest calamity. So, in the case of Kunti Maharani, he was very satisfied. When Kunti Maharani was a Kumari, that is when she was a young girl in her father's house, whenever her father invited several Brahmanas, she served them very nicely. And Durvas Muni, seeing her service and her reception, he was very pleased. And he gave her a benediction. He was so pleased that he gives her a benediction that she can pretty much call any demigod she desired. Because he knew that in the future she will have trouble conceiving a child from her husband. So he gives the benediction ahead of time. And of course, things take a different turn when she begins to test the power and all that. That is a separate story. And so, like this, he's very pleased. And of course, he's a plenary incarnation. He's an Amsha of Lord Shiva. So he has such qualities where he can easily be pleased or he can get really, really angry. And it is also mentioned that this Durvas Muni, he accepted the priesthood of a great king by the name Shvetaketu, and he performed several sacrifices for many hundreds of years. And he had the capability of traveling to various planetary systems, and he could even go to the kingdom of Indra. And he traveled through space, and sometimes he could go even to Vaikunta. Like this, he would travel like this. Especially, we see his travel capability when he offends Ambarish and he travels around the world. Um, but again, when he gets very upset, then it can be a big devastation, right? So many Kshatriya kings, whenever they see that Durvasa has come, they would be very fearful. Oh my God, Durvasa has come, so I have to get ready. I should ensure that I serve him perfectly. So this would be the fear in everybody's mind. So this Duryodhan, he knew that very well. He knew the capability of Durvasa very well. And once this Durvasa, he did visit the house of Duryodhan, and Duryodhan was intelligent. He was so intelligent that he knew how to satisfy this Brahmin. So he satisfied him by various means, and because of that, Durvasa, he became very pleased with Duryodhan, and he wanted to give Duryodhan a benediction. Mm. And Duryodhan, he has a very wicked mind, right? A very convoluted mind. So he knew that if I have a benediction, I should use that benediction to harm somebody. And whom did he want to harm? He wanted to harm the Pandavas. So Duryodhan, understanding the mystic powers of Durvasa, he was thinking if this Brahmin becomes dissatisfied, then there'll be a huge calamity. So he tells Durvasa that why don't you just show up yourself where the Pandavas are living. He tells, I know I've heard from some trusted sources that the Pandavas are in this particular location. So you should go and meet them and give them your blessings. Okay, this was the benediction he asks. That is the only benediction I want. I want you to go and bless the Pandavas in the forest. Like as if he's a very nice person, he gives this, he asks for this benediction. And he also, when he asks for this benediction, he tells you don't go in the morning or something, go after. He tells a particular time, okay, go like post afternoon. The reason he picks the time is because he knows by then Draupadi would have finished her lunch. Draupadi had the Akshaya Patra, and the Akshaya Patra would give food till Draupadi finished her meal. Once Draupadi finished her meal, wash the pot and put it down. It is the pot will not produce food again. Okay, so this was the magical pot, and he knew very well after this particular time, Draupadi would have finished eating and she would have washed the pot. So he tells Durvas to go at that particular time, and Durvas agrees to this proposal, and he goes to Yudhishthir's hut where he was staying with his brothers and wife after Draupadi finished the meal. Now, when Yudhishthir Maharaj saw Durvasa at the door, Yudhishthir Maharaj got very worried. So he didn't know what to do, but he was quite intelligent. He just thought, let me just postpone the time a little bit. Let me think what to do. So he requests Durvasa that you have traveled a long time, so why don't you just go and take your bath in the nearby river? By then we will finish cooking for all your 10,000 disciples. But then he was very worried. He didn't know how he's going to manage everything. And he goes and asks Draupadi, what should we do? Have you taken your meals? And Draupadi, she says, I finished my meals. I also washed the pot and I put it down. And now Yudhishthir Maharaj was worried. Draupadi was so worried. But Draupadi, we know what she does when she is in a great calamity. She always surrenders to Krishna. These ladies, Kunti Maharani, Draupadi, Uttara, you see, uh, they had very fine personalities. They knew what to do at the time of calamity. Very beautiful examples of stalwart women. mm, who knew exactly what to do at the time of calamity. They surrender directly to Krishna. That's it, period. They just surrender to Krishna. They didn't think, oh, my husband will help me, this person will help me, that person will help me, like how we all do. They just surrendered unto Krishna. And she thought of Krishna and she said, oh, Krishna, what will I now do? So like this, Draupadi was thinking of Lord Krishna in this dangerous position. And at that time, Krishna, of course, he understands everyone's heart. He's Paramatma in everyone's heart. He's all pervading, especially when his devotees are suffering. He knows when to help, how to help. So he shows up suddenly in the hut where they are living. And Draupadi gets all the more anxious because now, and the worst part is Krishna comes and asks her, "Oh, Draupadi, I'm very, very hungry. Give me something to eat." Now, Draupadi is in double shock. Of course, she surrendered to Krishna, but she thought Krishna will come and solve her problem. But Krishna was making her problem even worse because now the Supreme Personality of Godhead is coming to your doorstep and he's telling, "Give me something to eat," and I have nothing to give him. So she was even more sorrowful and she didn't know what to do. And then she had to sorrowfully tell him that actually I finished eating and now this pot is not going to produce any food. And she says, I even washed the pot and I put it down. And that is when Mahabharata very beautifully explains that Krishna went and he was like, "Oh, you wash the pot, then there'll be something." In the sense that you won't do a good job washing the pot. So he goes and he picks the pot, and then there he finds this little piece of spinach rice that is sticking to the edge of the pot. He picks that and he puts it into his mouth. And that particle of food that he ate satisfied the hunger of the entire world. This is Krishna's power. Mm. And something is offered to Krishna with love. Here, in this case, it was not even offered. He went and took it out of love, out of love for his devotee. He just went and took it. And the whole world was satisfied. Everybody was satisfied. And very graphically, it's explained that literally these sages who were in the who are doing their Gayatri after the bath, they finished their Gayatri and they were feeling so heavy. They were even belching. They were so heavy. And Krishna tells Yudhishthir Maharaj, send Bhimsen there with his gada because he's like nice, stout and strong built, right? So ask him to take his gada and go and tell them that the lunch is ready. And Yudhishthir Maharaj was like, what are you talking? The lunch is not ready. But Krishna said, it's okay, go tell them and send Bhima. And Bhima immediately follows the order. He goes with his nice stout body and he says, oh, sages, are you ready? The food is also ready. Now you can come. And that is when they say, okay, okay, we are coming. But then they run away because they're so scared of Bhima. They see Bhima from a distance and they all start running away. Prabhupada says, Bhima was sent to call them from the river. Bhima said, why are you delaying, sirs? Come on, the food is ready for you. But the Brahmanas, because of Lord Krishna's accepting a little particle of food, felt sumptuously fed even while they were in the water. They thought that since Maharaj Yudhishthir must have prepared many valuable dishes for them, and since they were not hungry and could not eat, the king would feel very sorry. So it was better not to go there, and they decided to go away. This incident proves that the Lord is the greatest of all mystic. The last verse of Bhagavad Gita, Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, Yatra Partho Dhanurthara, right? Tatra Shri Vijayo Buddhi. So Shri is there, Vijaya is also there, victory is there. So this incident proves that the Lord is the greatest of all mystic and therefore he is known as Yogeshwara. And here Prabhupada gives us this instruction, just do one thing. Another instruction is that every householder must offer food to the Lord. And the result will be that everyone, even a company of guests numbering 10,000, what to talk of 10,000, this entire world will be satisfied because Krishna is being satisfied. That is the way of devotion. Such a beautiful purport. Prabhupada has written it with so much love. So that was this beautiful incident that Arjuna is remembering. He's remembering all this. How Krishna helped them in every step of life. So text 12. Yettejasaat Bhagavan Yudhishulapani Vishmapita Sagirijo Astamadannijam me Anyepi chaham amunaiva kalevarena Prapto Mahindra Bhavane Mahad Asanardham. Anyone wants to read translation?
Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
Translation by
Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. It was by his influence only that in a fight I was able to astonish the personality of God, Lord Shiva, and his wife, the daughter of Mount Himalaya. Thus he, Lord Shiva, became pleased with me and awarded me his own weapon. Other demigods also delivered their respective weapons to me, and in addition, I was able to reach the heavenly planets in this present body and was allowed a half elevated seat. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Wow. Yes. So here he talks about the incident when he was able to astonish Shulapani. Shulapani is one who holds the Shulam, which is Bhagavan Shulapani is Lord Shiva, and also Girija, the daughter of the mountain, who is Parvati Devi. So he was able to astonish the personality of Godhead Lord Shiva and his wife, the daughter of Mount Himalaya. And this Shulapani, he became very, very pleased with Arjun, and he gave the weapon Pashupastra. So you all know the story from Mahabharata, how there is actually a great kavya known as Kiratarjuniam. This kavya is nothing but in Sanskrit. Of course, I've not read it, but I've heard so much about it. It is a beautiful play of the story of how Arjun finally meets Lord Shiva and accepts the Pashupastra from him. So Arjun went and he started performing meditation so that he could receive different divine weapons. And especially he underwent severe austerity so that he could receive a divine weapon from Lord Shiva himself. And Shiva knew that this is a very nice devotee of Lord Krishna. And Shiva wanted to play with him. So Shiva comes in the guise of a hunter along with Parvati Devi, and both of them they come as a hunter and a huntress, and they shoot a boar. So there's a very sweet story. There's a boar that is creating some mess there and disturbing Arjun. Arjun gets disturbed and he shoots an arrow, and Lord Shiva also shoots an arrow, and then both of them claim the boar, saying it's my arrow, and there's a big fight that breaks between the two of them, and finally Shiva reveals his true identity, and he blesses Arjun and he gives the Pashupatastra. And then later, because when he gets an opportunity to go to the heavenly kingdom, and he gets Ardha Asanam, Ardhasanam. The asanam belongs to Indra, right? He's the one who's the Indra Deva. Mahendra Bhavane Mahat Asanardham, it says. Mahendra Bhavan is the Indra Loka, the house of Indra. There he went with his own Kalevaran. So it says by his own Kalevara, his own body, he didn't have to give up his body. Now, if we have to go to Indra Loka, we have to give up, not that we want to go, but if we go, we have to give up this body, and we have to take a different body that is fit to go into Indra Loka. The story is also there of Shambhuka in the Ramayana. He was performing great austerities and he wanted to go to the heavenly kingdom in his own body. And he was disturbing the natural set system, actually, of the universe. And of course, there were a lot of other issues. And then finally, Lord Ramchandra had to punish him, actually kill him. So here, generally, when you go to the heavenly kingdom, you can't go with your own body. But this was a special concession, boon given to Arjun, where he could go to the heavenly kingdom and he could learn this dancing and other things from the Apsaras, specifically Urvashi. And later in his Ajñatavas, it was very helpful where he comes as Brihannala. So when that is explained later. But for now, he goes to the abode of the demigods and he get a half elevated seat. He get Ardhasana, meaning the asan belongs to his father Indra, but he is Indraputra only, right? He's an Amsha of Indra. So he's equally treated there. And he also helps the Devtas to fight the Nivata Kavachas there. So Arjun was able to do all this. How? He is not so independently great. Everything was possible only because of the mercy of Krishna. So in every verse, Arjun is passing on the credit to Sri Krishna. That is what we learn from these. Arjun's lamentation, what is there for us? Yes, Arjun is lamenting separation from Krishna, but look at his mood. It appears that Arjun is the hero. He's done everything. But is he thinking like that? I am the hero, I've done this. No, he's saying whatever was possible was only because of the mercy of Krishna. For every verse, he says that. Hmm. Sometimes small achievements we do, we feel I am the doer, I did this, at least I can, though I may not say, because we are trained not to speak of ourselves, we are trained to at least show that we are humble. But in the mind, definitely I think like that, right? Small things, I think, oh, what a great achievement. But what achievement? We are incapable of anything. We can't even lift a blade of grass without Krishna's mercy. So that is the realization Arjun has at this point in time, especially when he's feeling that separation from his dear Lord. So he says, only by his influence, I was able to astonish the great personality, Lord Shiva and his wife Girija. And Lord Shiva became so pleased with me that he said, okay, you can take this Pashupata Astra. And then when he went to the heavenly planet, all the demigods, they gave so many divine weapons to Arjun. So many divine weapons were bestowed upon him. And not only that, he even is able to be with his father on almost an equal level in that heavenly kingdom. So this is Arjuna's, this is one of the incident Arjuna feels thankful for. So let's see what Prabhupada has to say in the purport. Prabhupada says, by the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Sri Krishna, all the demigods, including Lord Shiva, were pleased with Arjun. Why is Arjun becoming favor? I mean, why are all the demigods being pleased by Arjun? Not because Arjun is a great warrior, he's capable of this and that. They are very pleased with him mainly because he's a devotee, because of the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's a devotee, everybody feels happy. So Prabhupada is telling the idea is that one who's favored by Lord Shiva or any other demigod may not be necessarily favored by the Supreme Lord. This is another aspect that we should remember. Sometimes you may see devotees of demigods, like for example Ravana. Ravana was a great devotee of Lord Shiva. But then it is not that he pleased the Supreme Lord. If the Supreme Lord is pleased, if one is the devotee of the Supreme Lord, automatically he is liked by everybody. But if one is only the devotee of some demigod, he may not be necessarily liked by Krishna. Okay, so here we see the case of Ravan. He was a great devotee of Shiva, but then what happened? He had to face the wrath of the Supreme Lord Ramachandra. So, like that, there are many, many instances in histories and Puranas. And here we can see that Lord Shiva, he became pleased with Arjun just by fighting with him. It is not that Arjun did austerities to please Lord Shiva. Ravana, he has done austerities to please many demigods. But so many demons have done austerities to please these demigods. But how did Arjun get the favor of Lord Shiva? By fighting with him. So even fighting a devotee, he can get mercy from different demigods. So the devotees of the Supreme Lord, they know how to respect the demigods. But the devotees of the demigods, sometimes they foolishly think that the Supreme Lord is no greater than the demigods. Now, this is also a lesson for each one of us. Sometimes we take demigods very casually. We see demigods on our level. This happens especially with quote unquote devotees, right? We say we are very staunch worshippers of Sri Krishna. We are very staunch worshippers of Vishnu, Narayan. These demigods, they are all materialistic. They are lusty. They do this, they do that. We kind of take it for granted. But one thing is that we should always remember, these are words of Prabhupada. Prabhupada says, devotees means you should be very respectful to demigods. We pull demigods to our level. We think we are superior to demigods. Yes, Vaishnavas are greater than any demigod. That is true. Shastra says that. But are we really a Vaishnava? Are we such a great Vaishnava? The very fact that we are pulling down demigods to our level means we are nowhere close to a Vaishnava. Okay, we are not even Vai of a Vaishnava. We have not even started becoming a Vaishnava if we pull them down like that. Demigods are demigods, they are great devotees, we have to be respectful. That is what even Prabhupada is trying to indicate here. He says a devotee will never disrespect a demigod. But however, sometimes there are some others who think that demigods and the Supreme Personality of Godhead are either on an equal level or the demigods are greater than the Supreme Lord. Now that becomes an offense. We see that in the offenses to the holy names as well. That when you treat the demigod, actually, recently this Mokshata Ekadashi had come now, right? On on the advent of the Bhagavad Gita. On that day, we celebrated Mokshata Ekadashi. The people who follow the sun calendar, this is generally according to the moon calendar. This is a little extra information, okay? I'm diverting a little, but I'll come back to the purport. Just some information. There are different calendars that is followed by different people in different states of India. Some people, they follow the Surya Magamana, some will follow Chandra, the movement of the sun, some will follow the movement of the moon. And so there could be some differences in the time a particular month is born. So in some places in South India and other parts of India, not every state, I'm saying few states, they celebrate all the months, they observe the birth of a month about 15-20 days later than the rest of the states, okay, other parts of India. So for them, they are still in the month of Kartik. And that particular Ekadashi that was just over, that it's written in the Varaha Purana, that particular Ekadashi is called as Kaisika Ekadashi. It's not there in our Ekadashi Mahatmya, but there is also a name for this Kartik Ekadashi that had just that we observed as Moksha Ekadashi, or we observed as the advent of Bhagavad Gita. That particular day, that Ekadashi is called as Kaishika Ekadashi. Now, why I'm telling that is because there is a Purana within the Varaha Purana called as Kaisika Purana. Okay, it's a story of a great devotee meeting a Brahma Rakshasa. A Brahma Rakshasa is a person who was a Brahmin in his previous birth, but he gets cursed because of a mistake that he makes. When you make a blunder in chanting a mantra or something like that in the Karmakanda section, you get the body of a Rakshasa. You become cursed to become a Rakshasa. So he's called as a Brahma Rakshasa. He's very powerful, yet he's not like a devotee. Okay, so he's basically a fallen person and he gets the body of a Rakshasa. Now, this Brahma Rakshasa, he was in this particular region. This is all there in the Varaha Purana. The entire Kaishika Mahatmya is there in that. He was haunting people, or rather, he was troubling people who would go to that region. He was living in a hilly area, which is near Mahendragiri, south of India, Mahendragiri. There he was he was living there. And once there was a great devotee who was going to one particular temple that is there in Mahendragiri. It's a temple of Lord Vishnu. I'm telling this from very vague memory, so if my details are not perfect, I can correct myself later. But this is just for your information. And when this devotee was going, this Brahma Rakshasa goes and possesses him. That is when and he wants to eat him. Okay, he says, "You're my food. I'm going to eat you." Now, this devotee, he has an instrument called as pan. Okay, it's basically like a tambura. He has this instrument. His only job would be to go up the hill, go to the temple, and play the instrument and sing glories of the Lord. That is all. That is all his service would be. Every day he would go sing the glories of the Lord and come down. Perfect. That's it. That was his everyday schedule. So when he was going up, this Brahma Rakshasa attacked him and said, "You're going to be my food." That time, this devotee says that just give me some time. I will definitely become your food, but I will go up to the temple. I will sing the glories of the Lord. I'll finish my service, my vow for today. I'll come down, then I'll become your food. No problem. Then this Brahma Rakshasa is very curious. He's like, so if you have, you must have acquired a lot of piety by going to the temple and singing songs. So you give me all your piety, and that way I can get rid of this Brahma Rakshas body. And the devotee says there is no piety, quote unquote, for devotees. Devotees don't do things for the sake of accruing piety. Right? Do we go and worship Krishna so that we'll get some benefit? No, we do it out of love and devotion. That's all. There is no question of me getting some benefit from Krishna and then transferring my pious credits to you. It doesn't work like that, he says. So I can't do any of that. My only job is to go and sing songs and I come. That's all. I do it for the pleasure of the Lord, period. I don't get anything from that. So I cannot deliver you from this condition, but you can eat me, no problem. But just let me finish the task of going and singing for the Lord. And that is when he gives a vow to the Brahma Rakshas, and he says, if at all I don't come back, because he has to give his word, right, very strongly that he is coming back. I think he says, if at all, I mean, I will give you all these promises. I am coming back. If I don't come back, then let the greatest of the greatest sins come on me, he says. What is that great sin? What is the greatest of all great sins? He mentions many sins, but he says there is one greatest of great, worst sin that you can ever think of. Let that come on me. And he describes what that sin is. You'll be surprised to learn the sin is to consider any demigod to be greater or equal to Vishnu. That is the greatest of all sins. He says, let that worst of the worst sins come upon me if I don't become your food. And then later, of course, that Brahma Rakshas is delivered. There's a big story after that. But that is the learning point. Here, Prabhupada is telling many people, they're called Pashandis. Prabhupada says in many places, such people are considered Pashandis, to think that somebody is equal to Vishnu or greater than Vishnu. That is passion. So Narayana or Krishna or Vishnu Tattva in general, we are the greatest. That is the understanding we get from the Kaisika Purana section, the biggest learning. So here Prabhupada is telling some people foolishly think that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is no greater than the demigods. By such a conception, he becomes an offender, he becomes a Pashandi, and ultimately meets, Prabhupada is very strong, he says, ultimately he meets with the same end as Ravana and others. So this is the result. Of course, out of ignorance, even we, before coming to Krishna consciousness, we would have thought like that, okay, out of ignorance. But we are open to correction. We are ready to think forward. It is still okay. Krishna is very merciful. But knowingly, just for the sake of proving a point, consciously being an offender will not take us too far. That is the idea. So the instances described by Arjun during his friendly dealings with Krishna are instructive for all who may be convinced by the lessons that one can achieve all favors simply by pleasing the Supreme Lord Krishna. Whereas devotees or worshippers of the demigods, they can achieve partial benefits which are perishable, just like how the demigods themselves are perishable. So this is what Arjun is telling. He's telling, I was the recipient of the mercy of Sri Krishna, and because of Krishna, the demigods were pleased with me. Okay. So Prabhupada also brings a stark difference between the devotees of demigods and the devotees of the Supreme Lord, and why it is very important to be a devotee of the Supreme Lord, because that is the only thing that is permanent. The boons given by demigods are also perishable, just like the demigods, as it is said in Bhagavad Gita. Okay. Now, Prabhupada, he says, another significance of the present verse is that Arjun, by the grace of Krishna, was able to go to heavenly planet in the self-same body. Remember, I told you that Chambuka was trying to go in a self-same body and Ramchandra was very upset. But here we see, by the mercy of Krishna, he was able to go in a self-same body, and he was honored by Indra, and he brought him up to elevation almost like a demigod. So one can reach heavenly planets by the pious acts recommended in Shastras, as it is said as fruitive activities. When you accrue a lot of punya, you can go to the heavenly planet. But even such pious acts, they are spent there by enjoyment. And once they are spent, what should you do? You should come back to this earthly planet. So he says, even this moon, people are trying to go to moon. He says, the moon is on the level of the heavenly planet, and only persons who have performed virtues, who have accrued that pious credits by performing sacrifices, giving charity, doing austerities, they are the ones who can go to heavenly planets like moon, that too after giving up this body. Even they cannot go in their self-same body. He is bashing the ones who are talking about the moon landings. So he says, even they, we really don't know where they went. So he says, even they also, they can only go after giving up this body. So that's what he says. So the present attempts to enter the heavenly planet by modern scientists is all futile. How long? So they went for many years, then suddenly everything stopped, right? Everything stopped. Now they are sending some machines there. But where are these machines going? What samples they're collecting? Are they able to focus that flag on the moon? We don't know. So many conspiracy theories are there, so much debate. Everybody has their own theory. But Prabhupada says, if you really want to go to the moon, do all the charities, sacrifices, austerities, give up this body, then you can go to moon. That's the best way to go to moon. But however, the present population, more or less, everybody is in the mode of ignorance. Everybody is about getting lusty and greedy, and we are all degraded. So we are not even having a chance to go to the heavenly planets. We are all going to go only to the hellish planets, you know. So but however, in the higher planetary system, the people, they are very intelligent and they are mostly in the highest mode of goodness. That's why I said in the beginning also, sometimes we degrade these demigods to our level or even beneath our level. But we should remember these people are great personalities. When we read about their mistakes, we should understand that mistake was one of a kind. It's not that they're doing mistakes like us continuously. Rarely they do a mistake and that is highlighted, that is focused, and we read that in scripture and then we brand them. That's what is happening. Yeah. My Guru Maharaj also says sometimes we take Indra for granted. Huh? What do we read about Indra? He's a womanizer. He did this, he did that. He misbehaved. So many problems with him. But overall, those are the mistakes that he did, which we are learning. And he's put into that situation by the will of the Lord. And as a great devotee of the Lord, he succumbs to that situation. He is ready to play that part. How many of us are ready to play that part of being in the bad books? Not everybody, right? But these demigods, they do. At the end of the day, they are great devotees. Otherwise, why would Krishna want to be with them all the time? Why would Krishna want to support them all the time? So they're definitely very elevated. They are generally in the mode of goodness, and they are all devotees of the Lord. And although their goodness is not unadulterated, that is something we should remember. They are not pure goodness. Although their goodness is not unadulterated, still they are known as demigods, possessing the maximum amount of good qualities possible in the material world. We are not saying they are pure 100% Shuddha Sattva. Their goodness is also not unadulterated. There is adulteration there also. But it is not like the percentage of adulteration that is there here. That is what Prabhupada is revealing to us. Okay. So in this verse, we learned how Arjun was feeling grateful that he went in his own body to heavenly planet. He also pleased the great demigods like Lord Shiva and Parvati Devi. I think there are two messages. Chat. Nampaduan, yes, correct. Vrinda Vaishnavi has sent the story of Kaishike Ekadasi. Yeah, that devotee's name is Nampaduan. Nampaduan means the one who sings about me. And that's how Krishna has given his name. Yeah. Okay. Next. You can read that story. It's very interesting. I would have missed many facts and I would have mixed it up a little bit because my memory is not great. But if you read that story, you will get better insights. तत्रैव मे विहरतो भुजदण्डयुग्मं गाण्डीवलक्षणमराति वधाय देवाः सेन्द्राः श्रीता यद् अनुभावितं माजमीढ तेनाहमद्यमुषितः पुरुषेण भूम्ना. Anyone wants to read translation?
Hare Krishna Mataji. When I stayed for some days as a guest in the heavenly planets, all the heavenly demigods, including King Indradeva, took shelter of my arms, which were marked with the Gandiva bow, to kill the demon named Nivatkava. O King, descendant of Ajmitha, at the present moment, I am a brevet of the Supreme Personality of the Godhead, by whose influence I was so powerful. Hare Krishna.
Very well. So this is a case when he was on the heavenly planet. It so happened that there were the Nivatakavacha demons who were posing a big threat to the heavenly residents of the heavenly planets. And Arjuna, he handled all these Nivatakavacha demons single-handedly under his direction. They were able to win. So there is a story again in the Mahabharata about this particular episode. Okay, so let's see what Prabhupada says about this particular incident. So the heavenly demigods, they are of course very intelligent, powerful, beautiful, and how come they are so advanced, and how come they were able to take shelter of Arjun, who's a mere mortal, who's from this material, from this earthly realm, right? The reason they were able to take shelter of Arjun and Arjun became so powerful was because he was empowered by the grace of Krishna. Of course, he had the Gandiva, but it doesn't mean that the Gandiva itself, I think, was given by the demigods, if I'm not wrong. So, but how was he empowered? He was empowered by the grace of Krishna. The Lord is all powerful, and because the Lord is all powerful, the devotee is also powerful by his grace. His pure devotee can be as powerful as he may desire, and there is no limit to it. How powerful was Srila Prabhupada? How powerful are our Guru Vargas? They're able to influence the whole world. How powerful was Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Supreme Lord, right? So a devotee is naturally very powerful, but they know how to use the power. They know how to use the power. And this particular king by the name Ajamedha, he was in the Puru dynasty. He was an ancestor of um, the Pandavas. That's why Yudhishthir Maharaj is called as Ajamedha, meaning a descendant of King Ajamedha. So these are some notes that is given, and I just wanted to see if there is anything else about him. Uh, yeah. Yeah, nothing much other than that. It is just mentioned that he was a great king and he was very successful, and therefore Yudhishthir Maharaj is called as Ajamedha. So, yes, someone said something. I think you raised your hand. Tulsi Gopi Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, I was just raising to my daughter wants to read the next translation, so for her.
Yeah, sure. She wants to read the translation or both Sanskrit and translation or just the translation?
Just the translation.
Okay, sure. You want to read Mataji, the Sanskrit?
Yeah, okay, sure. Yadbandava kuru balabdhim anantaparam eko rathena tatare aham atirya sattvam pratyahritam bahudhanam cha maya paresham तेजस्पदं मणिमयां च हृतं शिरोभ्यः.
Thank you, Mataji. Yes, go ahead. Whose is this? The younger one or the older one?
Yes, Nishtha.
Nishtha, yeah, the younger one. Yes.
The military strength of the Kauravas was like an ocean in which there dwelled many invincible existences, and thus it was insurmountable. But because of his friendship, I seated him on the chariot was able to cross over it, and only by his grace was I able to regain the cows and also collect my force many helmets of the kings, which were bedecked with jewelry and jewels that were sources of all brilliance.
Hey, thank you, Nishta. Nishta, who's talking all this? Who's telling all this?
Oh, I think Arjun.
Yeah, and who's he talking about? Whose friendship helped him do all this?
Krishna.
I know, Krishna, right? Because of Krishna's friendship, Arjun was actually seated on the chariot and he was able to fight the war. Actually, Krishna is the charioteer and he's doing service to Arjun. But Arjun is telling, because of him, I was able to even sit in the chariot and fight, fight the war. Hmm. And the Kauravas, remember the Mahabharata war? The strength of the Kauravas, actually, they were 18 Akshavinis, if I'm not wrong. I could be wrong. And they were much larger than the Pandavas side. It was like an ocean, and it was insurmountable, meaning it was very, very difficult to cross and fight with all of them. They were very powerful. All this Bhishma, Drona, Kripa, Karna, all these great commanders were on the side of the Kauravas. So their military strength was so insurmountable, it was like a great ocean of warriors. And yet, this tiny Arjun, he could sit on the chariot, he could shoot arrows simply because of the grace of Krishna. Because Krishna was there as a charioteer. And he could do it very easily, very seamlessly because of Krishna's powers. So Krishna was driving the chariot of Arjuna, and therefore Arjun could take a huge responsibility in the war. Now the Kauravas, who are the different brothers of Duryodhan, they were all single-handedly killed by Bhima, right? So technically, the whole war was fought by Bhima. But then why is the credit going to Arjun here? The reason is because these great commanders like Bhishma, Drona, Kripa, Karna, they could not be vanquished by anybody. Okay? It was very, very difficult. They were great bowmen. It was very difficult for people to vanquish them. The Kauravas were relatively, not such a great warrior like these people. They were very stalwart warriors. They were very older people, very powerful. So all these people were single-handedly taken care of by Arjun. But Arjun says, it is not that I alone did it. It is because Krishna was there by my side. I was able to manage this whole responsibility of the great war. The responsibility was on Arjun to tackle all the great warriors. Okay. So similarly, when the Pandavas were living in Virata, this is the story of Mahabharata. During their incognito, during the last year, they lived in the Virata kingdom. Matsya Desh, actually, Matsya Virata, all same. So they were living there incognito, and that is when Arjun was living like a eunuch, Brihannala, right? He was living like a eunuch. And when there was a great war that ensued because of the Kauravas, what happened was the Kauravas, they forcibly took away all the cows of Viratadesh. They forcibly took them off and they kidnapped all the cows. So at that time, Arjun becomes the charioteer of the son of King Virata, and his name is Uttara. Uttara is the boy, Uttara is the girl. He had one daughter, one son. Uttara is the prince, Uttara was the princess who later marries Arjun's son Abhimanyu. But our Arjun, who's Brihannala in the form of a eunuch, he becomes the charioteer of Uttara, and they go into the battlefield and somehow they are able to face the Kauravas. And there's also this incident of the Kauravas trying to kidnap all the cows, and Arjun fought with them incognito, and he was able to retrieve all the cows. And all these warriors who had come to fight, they were forced to bow down and all the jewels on their turbans were at the feet of Arjun. So Arjun says that he remembers all of this. All of this was possible not because of Arjun's independent valor. It was all possible only because of the mercy of Krishna. Such a nice devotee, right, Arjun? Everything he gives credit to Krishna. So we also try to give credit to Krishna. Next, I think this would probably be the last verse. 15. Oh, only 5 verses. Very sad. I thought I'll do 10, but we'll be doing only 5. यो भीष्मकर्णगुरुशल्यच्चमूष्व अदभ्र राजन्यवर्यरतमण्डलमण्डितासु अग्रे चरो मम विभोरतयूतपानाम् आयुर्मनांसि च दृशा स ओज आर्चत्. Anyone for translation?
Hare Krishna. Okay, go ahead, Mataji. Okay. Okay.
It was
Yeah. Go ahead, Mataji. Sorry, Sadhavani Mataji, please.
okay. Thank you, Mother. It was he only who withdrew the duration of life from everyone, and who in the battlefield withdrew the speculative power and strength of enthusiasm from the great military phalanx made by the Kauravas, headed by Bhishma, Karna, Drona, Shalya, etc. Their arrangement was expert and more than adequate, but he, Lord Sri Krishna, while going forward, did all this. Hare Krishna.
So, of course, the military phalanx of the Kauravas was very diligently uh, strategically designed by Bhishma and others. But still, their expert arrangement was broken by Sri Krishna, meaning Krishna, in spite of it being such a great military intellectual design, it was all shattered by the power of Sri Krishna. It was he alone who withdrew the life from everybody in the battlefield. Though they were great heroes like Bhishma, Karna, Drona, Shalya, and they had amazing arrangements, but still, when Krishna went forward in the battlefield, just as the charioteer, everything was vanquished. So this Krishna, he's the supreme personality of Godhead. He's also the Paramatma in everyone's heart, right? He's actually controlling everything. 15.15, what is this verse? Very famous verse. Anyone wants to take the call on 15.50?
सर्वस्य चाहं हृदि सन्निविष्ट
Smriti-jnanamako. Go ahead, Prabhu.
No, Mataji, I'm not able to
Okay.
recollect full.
Okay. Mataha smriti-jnanamapam cha vedaischa sarvairahamenva vedya
Vedantagrit Vedavit eva chaham.
So he directs everybody sitting in the heart. Whatever recollection we may have, whatever forgetfulness we may have, which I often have, whatever knowledge we have, the absence of intelligence, all our psychological activities are controlled by Sri Krishna. So he is the Supreme Lord. He can increase or decrease the duration of life of any living being. If he decides, that's it. He's in control. So the Lord, he conducted the battlefield of Kurukshetra according to his own plan. Oh, I love this verse. There is one verse spoken by Mayadanava. And I like Prabhupada's purport specifically for that verse. He says, there's the story of this Tripura Samharam by Lord Shiva in the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, where Narada Muni is telling Yudhishthir Maharaj how Krishna is a supreme Lord. He's greater than all the demigods, including Lord Shiva. He explains that. And for that, he talks about the Tripura Samharam story of Lord Shiva, sorry. Lord Shiva, he speaks about the greatness of Shiva, but then ultimately, by the mercy of Lord Vishnu, Shiva becomes successful in that battle. That is what the story is about. And I think again, I'm forgetting, but there is some nectar, and the cow, and the nectar is being drunk up by the arrangement of the Lord. And because of which, finally, Lord Shiva is able to shoot arrows at the three cities, flying cities, and he's able to vanquish these demons. So that time, Mayadanava, he says, you may have your plan, he may have his plan, I may have my plan, but all our plans are nothing in front of the Lord's plans. So ultimately, only the Lord's plan will triumph. So everybody may come up with a plan, but ultimately, he's the supreme controller. Only his plan will work. That's what Mayadanava says. He has this deep realization. Like we can actually pull up that verse if possible once I'm done with this. So ultimately, it's God's plan. He's the ultimate director. So that's what Prabhupada is telling. The Lord conducted the battle of Kurukshetra according to his own plan. He wanted that battle to establish Yudhishthira as the emperor of the planet and facilitate this transcendental business. What did he do? He killed all the opposite party by his will. He had a plan in mind. What was Krishna's plan? He wanted to install Yudhishthir Maharaj on the throne. To facilitate that, he had a transcendental business. He came up with a transcendental plan, and by his will, he defeated all the people in the opposing party. And how was the opposing party? The opposing party had very, very stalwart fighters like Bhishma, Drona, Shalya. And actually, it was physically impossible for Arjun to have killed all of them. But the Lord helped him with so many tactics, so many tactics. He's a transcendental fraud, Krishna. Every single move was a brilliant tactic by Krishna. If Krishna didn't direct that move, Arjun could have never won anybody, right? So Krishna helped him in so many ways. Such tactics are generally followed by statesmen, even in modern warfare, but they are all done materially by powerful people, military tactics, and these diplomatic maneuvers. But Arjun was Lord Krishna's affectionate devotee, and the Lord himself did all this for the sake of Arjun. This is the power of devotion. When there is a devotee, Krishna is ready to go to any extreme to help that devotee. And if Krishna is doing something, that is dharma. Dharmam tu sakshat bhagavat praditam. So it is not fraud, it is transcendental fraud. It is not ordinary political tactics, but it is transcendental tactics. And it's very enjoyable, very relishable if Krishna does something. So like this, Arjun is remembering all this, how even in the war field, it was Krishna who was helping him perform every single. So we'll stop here. And then, of course, next class onwards, we'll continue from verse 16. These verses are very long, so many stories, so it will take time, but we'll do it. Okay. Any questions, additions, thoughts, comments? Oh yeah, I think we got the verse. Vrinda Vaishnavi has sent. देवो असुरो नरो अन्यवा नरेश्वरो अस्त कश्चन आत्मनो अन्यस्य वा दृष्टां दैवेनापोहितुं देवयो. Mataji, send the English also so that everyone can get it. Okay. Any other thoughts, questions? 7, 10, 64. Anyone has any questions, or we can call it a 60. Yeah, this is the verse. Yeah. The purport is also very beautiful. How Prabhupada says that, yeah, she sent it. Yeah. Very nice. Thank you, Mataji. And this is the purport Prabhupada says. He says the Supreme Lord is one, Krishna, Vishnu Tattva. Krishna expands himself to Vishnu Tattva and controls everything. Mayadanava said, however I plan, you plan, or both of us plan, the Lord planned what has to happen. No one's plan will be successful without his sanction. We may take our own various plans, but unless they are sanctioned by the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu, they will never be successful. Hundreds and millions of plans are made by all kinds of living entities, but without the sanction of the Supreme, they are all futile. This is the translation, what has been destined by the Supreme Lord for oneself, for others, or for both oneself and others cannot be undone anywhere or by anyone, whether one be a demigod, a demon, a human being, or anyone. So Krishna is in supreme control. Okay. Yes, Saudamani Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you for
Yeah.
today's beautiful class. Mataji, I was reflecting on this point that Krishna came and he tasted the shakan. So it was the remnants of Pandavas. So it was basically Muchino Mataji. They had already tasted it.
No. They can take from that pot and serve.
Yeah.
It's cooking
So,
pot.
but they tasted it before Krishna tasted.
Actually,
Yeah.
to talk about it, you're right. It says remnants. The verse itself says shakanam, shishtam. I think that was the verse, right? Remnants. Yeah, you got a point, actually. That's what even the verse says. It is actually their remnants. Yes, that is
I
correct.
was also remembering that Mataji. Like in Godlila also we see how Mahaprabhu is tasting what Raghunath Das Goswami was eating, and he was telling
Yes,
that I have never tasted something so tasty.
yes.
So I was thinking that Krishna is tasting pure devotees' love. I think that's why he is getting satisfied so much. Though he is
Hari bol.
Atmara.
How beautiful.
So
What a beautiful realization. And it's so true. It is so true. It is so beautiful. Thank you for bringing that up, Mataji. That was lovely. Yeah.
thank
Very nice. And you paid so much attention to those words. It's really nice. Thank you. And Vranda Vaishnavi?
Mataji, thank you for the wonderful class with all those stories. Mataji, I just wanted to tell that even now, for the Kaishika Ekadashi in Tirukunankudi Nambi, at the down, they still narrate the pastime.
And the whole night they do the plays,
Yeah.
right? They do the drama of this. I think it's a long conversation, but this was the final verdict, right? This was the final.
And then finally, the Brahma Rakshasa would ask, give me at least the phalam of the last pasturam which you sang. You need not give entire pasturam. Then he will say that, no, I don't sing for the phalam. It's I'll just pray to Tirukunankudi Nambi so that he would give you a cure from this curse.
Sure. Oh, that's how he gets delivered. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Mataji. Thanks for giving a finish to the story. Thank you. Yeah. And the details. Yeah. Thank you.
Mataji, I was also curious. So, was it that because he was chanting different names of the Lord in that prayer, ultimately, by that, this Brahma Rakshas got liberated? Like he got mukti? Like, is that why it's called Mokshada Ekadash, something like that? Or
no, I think Mokshada Ekadashi, the story in Ekadashi Mahatmya is a little different. This is another story that happens on this particular day, I believe. Yeah. Others can correct me. Vrinda Vaishnavi, if you know, you can correct.
It's called Kaishika Ekadashi because that pashram which he sang was known as Kaishika Pan. That's what I remember. So that's why in that it'll be a praise of Lord himself. That pashram complete shlokas or the song will be in praise of the Lord. So that's why the last few stanzas phalam that Brahman Rakshasa would get, and that is how he is
delivered.
okay, he got delivered from the Rakshash Yoni, basically. Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you. Thank you, Mataji. That's a nice thing. Okay, dear devotees. So we'll again meet on Tuesday and we'll continue. Yes, from verse 16. वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः अनंतकोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय श्री प्रभुपाद की जय हरे कृष्ण dear devotees.
Grace Preeti Vilasini Mataji ki jai.